Anal fissures, hemorrhoids, and root chakra issues, the causes and solutions. I've already talked several times about hemorrhoids and root chakra issues in general, and I believe these are very important topics. Why? Because every human being is affected by them in some way. For example, hemorrhoids. Everyone has them as a physical structure, but not everyone necessarily suffers from them. Still, many people will experience problems with them at least once in their lifetime. And of course, there are situations in life where this happens more often, such as pregnancy and childbirth, but also other reasons that can contribute. And within this whole context, we also find anal fissures. I'd like to briefly talk about them, not too extensively, but just enough to give you an idea. And if anyone struggles with this issue, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm currently working and researching a lot on this topic because I know it from my own experience, and I've already healed it successfully. That's why I can also speak openly about it. Within our institute, we are exploring this subject together and developing alternative methods to approach it and to truly heal it. Because behind it all, there is so much more than what is usually said in the mainstream or in conventional medicine. Of course, it also depends on which doctor you consult. Some take it more seriously than others, but in most cases it's dismissed far too easily. And since we're human beings who exist on many different levels, not just the physical body, it's important to also look at the other layers and bring them into the healing process. Now let's get into the basics. What exactly are anal fissures? They are small tears or cracks, almost like if you cut your finger. Just a split in the tissue. In this case, it's a tear in the anal muscle. There are both inner and outer anal muscles, and such a fissure can affect either, in varying degrees of severity. These fissures can occur, for example, during childbirth, in the same way as a perineal tear happens, simply because of the immense pressure. They can also result from very hard stool, poor nutrition, or other factors. But anal fissures can also be a symptom of something deeper. For instance, they can result from anal spasms, when the pelvic floor is too tense, which can lead to painful cramps in the lower abdomen. They can also be caused by experiences of abuse, by anal intercourse, or even by medical examinations. Strong anxiety can also play a role. For example, during pregnancy, the fear of losing a child can create constant tension in the pelvic floor. This excessive tension can then affect the entire lower body and lead to problems such as fissures. A fissure is always a symptom, but of course there can also be an underlying condition. In some cases, what we call cancer today may be involved. For many people, however, cancer is ultimately seen as a healing reaction, the body's attempt to repair itself. It is defined by the presence of different types of cells, and then it is labeled as cancer. But from another perspective, it can be understood as part of a natural process of healing. To give you a few examples, there are loss conflicts. A woman who has suffered a miscarriage in the past and is pregnant again may carry an intense fear of losing the baby. This often causes the pelvic floor to become extremely tense, as if it has to hold everything together at all costs. Similar situations can occur in other phases of life: being alone and having to manage everything, losing a job, being forced to move out of your home, or suddenly facing financial problems. All of these situations create pressure in sense that you have to hold on and keep going even though you don't know what's coming next. This inner conflict can then manifest physically, especially in the area of the root chakra and its organs. To really clarify what lies behind such symptoms, I often recommend an energy field analysis. It can show what the deeper energetic background of the symptom is, because again, a fissure is not really a disease, but rather a symptom. Still, it can last for years in some people, and it is extremely painful. The pain is truly hellish. Imagine stool passing several times a day over an open wound, or the wound trying to heal only to tear open again. It's excruciating. I know this from my own experience, which is why I can speak about this so directly. Many people experience this just once in their lives, and it heals quickly. but for others it becomes chronic and lasts for years, and that can be devastating. The constant pain leads to fear, to avoidance, to people withdrawing from life. Some even try to eat less or hold back stool to avoid the pain. They isolate themselves, lose their ability to work, and in some cases even slip down socially and financially. It can be very, very hard, and like with any illness or crisis, there's also the risk of depression, loneliness, or even suicidal thoughts. But here it is tied directly to the intensity of the pain. Many are simply afraid to go to the toilet. When it gets to that point, it is really important to seek help. You need a good proctologist you can trust, someone who will clearly explain what's going on, what options are available, and who will actually support you. But at the same time, it's just as important to look beyond conventional medicine. If one approach doesn't work, there are many other ways. A change in diet, for example, can have a huge impact. Traditional Chinese medicine can help as well. There are also physiotherapists who are specifically trained to work with the pelvic floor, and they can provide excellent support. Because in many cases, what's really behind the fissures is massive tension in the pelvic floor. And normally a fissure heals quite quickly, but if there are inner conflicts that remain unresolved, healing may not happen. In those cases, the subconscious almost works against recovery. That's why it's so important to address the problem on several levels at once: nutrition, bodywork, relaxation techniques, acupuncture, and more. An energy field analysis can also reveal what conflicts lie beneath the surface. Once those conflicts are identified and resolved, the body often finds its way back to healing more easily. In our work, we help people uncover those conflicts and show them which energies are actually behind their symptoms. These can then be addressed and dissolved with frequency-based remedies created individually for the person. Of course, the prerequisite is that the conflict itself has been resolved. Once that happens, the energetic soil that was feeding the symptoms is removed and healing can finally take place. Anyone dealing with chronic or long-term conditions should understand that unresolved conflicts are almost always part of the picture. That means it's essentially to work on multiple levels: physical, emotional, and energetic. Never rely only on conventional medicine, but at the same time, it's very important to have a clear medical diagnosis. You need both: the certainty of what's happening physically and the willingness to also look deeper. Once again, a fissure is not really a disease, it's a symptom. In fact, it's more like a healing reaction. A crisis the body goes through to point something out. What really matters is to understand which conflict lies underneath. If that conflict isn't addressed, the fissure can come back again and again. That's why it is so crucial to work through the underlying patterns, beliefs, and energies that are holding the body back from healing. And let's be honest, many people suffer from this, but it's rarely talked about it. In our society, it's still a taboo topic. But it's important to realize that anyone can be affected, from infants to the elderly. All it takes is, for example, a few days of diarrhea, and you might end up with a fissure. It really can happen to anyone, and the more we acknowledge this openly, the easier it becomes to deal with it. Another factor to consider is the environment we live in. Many chemicals from our food, the air we breathe, and other sources also play a role. These things can weaken the body and make it more vulnerable. And here's the key: no two cases are exactly the same. Each person has their own background, their own conflicts, their own triggers. That's why one person's healing path may look completely different from another. And what's really important is that you find out what your specific conflict is. Once you understand that, you have a kind of red thread to follow, a direction for your healing journey. And that helps you not to fall into hopelessness, not to isolate yourself, not to shut down or withdraw from life. Most of all, it helps you keep going, step by step, with a sense of perspective and confidence that healing is possible. I find it terrible how this issue is often handled. Alternative methods are attacked and dismissed as if they were nonsense. Homeopathy, for example, is constantly criticized even though so many people benefit from it. In the end, every person has to decide for themselves who they trust with their health and their future. Of course, it's important to get a diagnosis. That's a responsibility we all have, but only from a doctor you truly trust, where you feel safe and respected. Never let yourself be forced into treatments or situations that don't feel right for you, especially in such an intimate area. If something feels wrong, it's always okay to walk away. And remember, never give away your power over your own body and your own life. Always remember, it is your health, your responsibility, your decision. Maybe now is the time to start thinking for yourself again instead of simply accepting what's handed to you. Your body belongs to you, and your healing path should be yours as well. And by the way, I'd be happy if you support my channel. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with others who might need it. Don't hesitate to pass it on, because it is an issue that causes a lot of suffering, and sharing helpful information can make a real difference. So let's get back to it. This kind of pain is traumatic. Honestly, you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. To give you an idea, it feels like passing glass shards every single day. That's the level of pain we're talking about. And when it goes on for weeks, months, or even years, it's no wonder that people struggle emotionally and mentally as well. If you're in Germany, there is a very good doctor in Wuppertal who speaks quite critically about the old traditional therapies that are still often used. He points out that there are much more suitable treatments available today, such as physiotherapy, osteopathy, or craniosacral therapy. These methods have an excellent effect on the nervous system and help release muscle tension, which is often the main cause behind fissures. Unless, of course, there's a truly serious illness underneath, but in most cases, these approaches are far more effective. If you are in the US, there's also an American doctor I highly recommend checking out. He calls himself Your Friendly Proctologist on YouTube. He has a channel on YouTube and you can check it out. What makes him so special is that he talks about the topic with humor, but also from personal experience. And he himself suffers from hemorrhoids and anal fissures, so he really knows what it feels like. And he says that in the last 5 years he hasn't had to operate on a single patient simply because his treatment protocols work so well. I think that's truly inspiring. You can find the links of both YouTube channels in the description box. At the same time, please don't forget to look at the energetic background. That's what I do with many people. We uncover the conflicts behind their symptoms and work on resolving them. It's a bit like bioresonance or homeopathy, very individual, very personal. And when you address these deeper layers, true healing often becomes possible. With a good homeopath, you can also achieve amazing results, both for acute issues and long-term healing. So never lose hope. Always remember, your body is designed to restore balance. Healing is its natural state. It knows how to do it. But sometimes blockages, stress, or unresolved conflicts get in the way. And if we can remove those obstacles, the body often recovers much faster than we expect. Sometimes the root of a problem may be an existential fear. An existential fear. Fear of not having enough money, or experiences of abuse, or simply a constant tension in the root chakra area because of survival worries. That's why it's so important to take a holistic approach. Body work, energetic practices, and, if needed, psychological support. The main thing is to do everything you can to support your body in the best possible way so that it can finally relax and heal. Right now, this issue affects a lot of people. Some only have it once and it goes away quickly, but for others it becomes chronic. If you are one of them, please don't get stuck in despair. Seek help. There are many solutions out there. Look beyond the conventional. Think outside the box and don't give up. There's always hope and there's always a way forward. Your system is always trying to tell you something. A fissure, in that sense, is a healing crisis, a way for your body to point out that something still needs attention. If it doesn't heal, it means there's still something standing in the way. Take it as an invitation to look deeper, to resolve what is unresolved, and to open the path for your body to do what it naturally wants to do, to heal. And with that, I wish you a wonderful day. And remember, you are not alone in this. You can always reach out if you need support, help, you have questions, or you want to have an appointment with me. I can give you my personal protocol, what you can do. And trust in your body, trust in your healing abilities, and have a beautiful rest of your day.